There was a time when American kitchens held a quiet kind of magic, when recipes were shared from cookbooks that carried the warmth of a family's table and the elegance of a Sunday meal. Today, we open one of those forgotten pages to rediscover 13 dishes that once defined comfort, celebration, and creativity. These recipes were not written for trends or fame, they were crafted to bring people together. From the golden sweetness of eggnog French toast strata to the southern crunch of hush puppy fried chicken, each dish tells a story of how America once cooked with care and purpose. Every recipe was a reflection of its era, echoing the values, traditions, and flavors that shaped homes across the nation. In this video, we are traveling back through time, into kitchens scented with cinnamon, frying oil, and hope, to uncover recipes once featured in the cherished pages of Barnes & Noble and Hamilton book collections. Stay with me until the end, because these lost flavors are more than just food, they are pieces of American history waiting to be remembered, one recipe at a time. There was a time when breakfast was more than a routine, it was a celebration. One such dish, eggnog French toast strata, captured the essence of mid-century American kitchens, bringing holiday warmth and a touch of elegance to the breakfast table. This dish was more than bread, eggs, and milk, it was a statement of care, creativity, and family tradition. Eggnog, a festive favorite, was folded into cubes of bread, creating a custard that soaked every layer with richness. In the 1940s and 1950s, home cooks embraced these strata as a way to elevate ordinary mornings into moments of delight. The dish carried the sweetness of nutmeg and vanilla, aromas that would fill the kitchen and invite everyone to gather around the table. It was a centerpiece for holiday mornings, church socials, or family brunches, a quiet symbol of warmth and togetherness. The accompanying cranberry syrup was not simply a topping, it was a bridge between flavors. Tart, vibrant, and perfectly balanced against the custardy richness, it transformed the strata from a simple breakfast into a memorable experience. Families would serve it with pride, watching children and guests savor each bite, unaware that they were tasting a recipe that would, in time, vanish from most American tables. Today, eggnog French toast strata feels like a rediscovery, a gentle reminder of how mid-century America celebrated simple pleasures with creativity and care. Recreating this dish is not just about following a recipe, it is about reconnecting with a history of hospitality, nostalgia, and love. Which part of this classic would you try first, the custardy layers or the tart cranberry syrup? Tell me your thoughts, and stay tuned, because the next recipe will take us even deeper into America's lost culinary treasures, uncovering flavors that once defined a generation. In the kitchens of mid-century America, the South had its own way of celebrating comfort: golden, crisp hush puppies fried chicken. This dish was more than a meal, it was a tradition that brought families together around the table. Each piece of chicken was carefully seasoned, coated, and fried to achieve a crisp exterior while keeping the meat tender and flavorful, a harmony that defined Southern home cooking. Hush puppies, small fried cornmeal balls, were more than a side, they were an essential companion, balancing the richness of the fried chicken with a subtle sweetness and soft texture. In the 1940s and 1950s, these dishes were served at Sunday dinners, church socials, and community gatherings, where the aroma of frying chicken would fill the air and invite neighbors to share in the comfort of home. The preparation of hush puppy fried chicken was deliberate. Housewives and cooks understood that each step, from seasoning to frying, contributed to a sensory experience: the crunch, the warmth, and the aroma that lingered long after the meal ended. It was a dish meant to be savored slowly, conversation flowing around the table, laughter mingling with the clinking of plates. Today, this dish represents a piece of culinary heritage often forgotten. Recreating it is an act of preservation, a way to honor the generations who turned simple ingredients into memories. Hush Puppies fried chicken reminds us that food was once a celebration of patience, skill, and love. Imagine pulling a tray of golden chicken and soft, fragrant hush puppies from the oven, the smell filling your kitchen. Which would you bite first, the crisp chicken or the tender hush puppy? Leave your thoughts below. And prepare yourself, because the next recipe will take us from the South to the elegant tables of classic American dining, revealing a dish steeped in history and flavor. In the kitchens of mid-century America, beef Burgundy was more than a meal, it was a statement of elegance and care. Known in its French form as bœuf bourguignon, this dish found its place on American tables in the 1940s and 1950s, when home cooks sought ways to bring fine dining into their own kitchens. Rich, tender beef simmered slowly in wine, herbs, and aromatics, transforming simple ingredients into a feast that felt celebratory yet comforting. Preparing beef Burgundy was a deliberate act, requiring patience and attention. Cubes of beef were browned to perfection, then slowly cooked with onions, carrots, and mushrooms, allowing the flavors to deepen and meld. Wine infused the dish with subtle sophistication, turning the kitchen into a fragrant sanctuary. Each stir, each simmer, was a small ritual that rewarded the cook and the family alike. This dish was often reserved for special occasions, when families wanted to mark an event with care. The glossy sauce, rich in color and flavor, coated every morsel of beef, creating a harmony between texture and taste. In homes across America, beef Burgundy was a sign that the table was set not just to feed the body but to nourish the spirit. Despite its elegance, it was approachable. Housewives in mid-century America relied on accessible ingredients and simple techniques to recreate this French classic. It was a bridge between continents, bringing European sophistication to everyday life while remaining deeply rooted in American kitchens. Serving beef Burgundy was a moment of pride. Plates were arranged carefully, and each bite told a story of culinary ambition, tradition, and family warmth. Which part of this classic would you savor first, the tender beef, the velvety sauce, or the tender vegetables? Share your thoughts below. Next, we journey to an exotic twist in mid-century kitchens with a dish that combined tropical flavor and American ingenuity. In mid-century America, kitchens were experimenting with flavors that crossed continents. Coconut chicken with chutney was one such dish, blending the familiar comfort of fried chicken with exotic notes from tropical ingredients. It represented a time when American cooks were exploring beyond traditional recipes, embracing the unexpected and creating meals that delighted both the eye and the palate. The chicken was coated in shredded coconut, giving each piece a crisp, golden exterior that contrasted beautifully with the tender, juicy meat inside. Frying it to perfection required precision, ensuring the coconut browned without burning while locking in the flavors. The result was a dish that felt festive and indulgent, often reserved for family gatherings or small dinner parties where presentation mattered as much as taste. Accompanying the chicken was a vibrant chutney, made from a blend of fruits, spices, and sometimes a hint of vinegar. The chutney's bright sweetness and gentle tartness provided the perfect counterpoint to the richness of the coconut fried chicken. In the 1950s, home cooks would serve this combination with pride, watching as family and guests marveled at the balance of flavors and textures. Coconut chicken with chutney was more than a meal, it was an expression of curiosity and culinary creativity. It showed how mid-century America was not afraid to borrow flavors from distant lands and reinterpret them in ways that suited local tastes. It carried a sense of adventure, reminding families that cooking could be a journey of discovery without leaving the kitchen. Today, recreating this dish is a way to honor a moment in culinary history, a reminder that American kitchens have always been capable of bold, imaginative flavors. Imagine biting into the crisp coconut, dipping it into the tangy chutney, and tasting a forgotten era of home cooking. Which would you try first, the crunchy chicken or the zesty chutney? Comment below and share your thoughts. In the mid-century American kitchen, presentation mattered as much as taste. Parmesan bread bowls were a testament to this philosophy, transforming simple bread into a vessel of flavor and elegance. This dish captured the imagination of home cooks in the 1940s and 1950s, offering a way to serve soups, stews, and creamy fillings with both practicality and style. The bread was hollowed carefully, forming a bowl sturdy enough to hold warm, comforting fillings. Each loaf was brushed with butter and sprinkled generously with Parmesan, then baked until golden and crisp. The cheese melted into the crust, creating a delicate balance of texture, a crunchy exterior and a soft, airy interior that invited each bite. Families marveled at how something so simple could feel celebratory, turning an everyday meal into an occasion. Parmesan bread bowls were versatile. Housewives would fill them with creamy tomato soup, chicken pot pie, or even leftover stews, transforming leftovers into something memorable. The aroma of baked bread and cheese filled the kitchen, a signal that warmth, care, and community were at the heart of every meal. This dish reflected mid-century values, resourcefulness, elegance, and hospitality. It was a reminder that even in ordinary homes, presentation and thoughtfulness could elevate a simple dish. Children and guests alike were drawn to the bread bowl, eagerly tearing off pieces to scoop up the savory filling inside. Today, recreating Parmesan bread bowls allows us to reconnect with this sense of culinary pride. It is more than a recipe, it is a symbol of a time when meals were an experience, not just sustenance. Imagine the crackle of the baked crust, the savory richness of Parmesan, and the comforting filling within. Which flavor combination would you try first in your bread bowl? Share your thoughts below, and get ready, because the next recipe will take us into the world of sweet indulgence, a dessert once adored across American tables. In mid-century America, dessert was a centerpiece, a way to conclude a meal with indulgence and pride. Chocolate buttermallow cake was one such creation, combining layers of rich chocolate cake with a light, fluffy buttermallow filling that delighted both the eye and the palate. This dessert reflected the era's love for texture, flavor contrast, and presentation, making it a staple at family gatherings and celebrations. The cake layers were moist and decadent, carefully baked to perfection. Between each layer was a generous spread of buttermallow, a marshmallow-like filling with a creamy, airy texture that balanced the richness of the chocolate. Housewives in the 1940s and 1950s took great care in assembling the cake, often topping it with a smooth chocolate glaze or sprinkling it with toasted nuts for an added layer of flavor and sophistication. Chocolate buttermallow cake was more than a sweet treat, it was an experience. The contrast between the dense chocolate cake and the light, fluffy filling created a harmony that lingered in the memory long after the last bite. It was served at birthdays, Sunday dinners, and holiday gatherings, a symbol of care and culinary skill that showcased the home cook's attention to detail. Families often gathered around the table, slicing pieces carefully, savoring each mouthful while sharing stories and laughter. The aroma of chocolate, the softness of the buttermallow, and the warmth of the kitchen created a sensory memory that defined mid-century dessert culture. Today, recreating chocolate buttermallow cake is a way to connect with a bygone era, to taste the flavors that once brought joy to American homes. Imagine cutting through the soft layers, tasting the rich chocolate and airy filling, and feeling a sense of nostalgia with every bite. Which part would you savor first, the chocolate cake or the creamy buttermallow? Comment below and share your memories as we move to the next forgotten recipe. In mid-century America, desserts were a delicate balance of simplicity and elegance. Peachy custard squares exemplified this perfectly, combining the sweetness of ripe peaches with the smooth, velvety texture of custard, all nestled in a buttery crust. This dessert was more than a treat, it was a symbol of seasonal abundance, home baking, and the care families poured into every meal. The crust was carefully prepared, golden and tender, providing a sturdy base for the luscious filling. Custard was poured over fresh, sliced peaches, softening slightly as it baked, creating a harmonious blend of flavors and textures. Housewives in the 1940s and 1950s cherished this dish for its versatility. It could grace a Sunday supper table, accompany afternoon tea, or serve as a centerpiece at a summer picnic. Peachy custard squares reflected mid-century values of resourcefulness and elegance. The peaches, often sourced from local orchards or canned for winter, added natural sweetness, while the custard elevated the dish into a comforting, sophisticated dessert. Each square was sliced carefully, the creamy custard held gently between layers of tender crust, creating a visually pleasing presentation that invited family and guests to indulge. Serving these squares was an act of hospitality. The aroma of baking peaches and vanilla custard would fill the kitchen, drawing everyone near. Each bite offered a gentle sweetness, a soft texture, and a reminder that desserts were not just food, but an expression of care and tradition. Today, recreating peachy custard squares connects us to a time when baking was both practical and celebratory. It is an invitation to taste nostalgia, to experience flavors that once brightened mid-century kitchens. Which part would you savor first, the tender crust, the creamy custard, or the soft peach slices? Comment below and share your thoughts as we prepare to uncover the next forgotten recipe, a simple yet beloved cookie that defined an era of America. In mid-century American kitchens, cookies were not merely treats, they were symbols of care, patience, and shared joy. Oatmeal refrigerator cookies exemplified this philosophy, combining the hearty texture of oats with the sweet, comforting flavors that made home baking a treasured ritual. These cookies were designed to be simple, practical, and delightful, allowing families to enjoy fresh, flavorful treats with minimal fuss. Refrigerator cookies were prepared in advance, often formed into logs and chilled, a method that made slicing and baking effortless. The oats provided a rustic texture, a satisfying chew that contrasted beautifully with the soft, buttery dough. Housewives in the 1940s and 1950s appreciated this style of cookie for its convenience and reliability, allowing them to serve guests, delight children, and enjoy a fresh batch at any time. Flavorings such as cinnamon, nutmeg, and raisins added depth, turning a modest cookie into a comforting experience. Once baked, the oatmeal refrigerator cookies released a warm, inviting aroma that filled the home, drawing family members to the kitchen and creating a sense of anticipation. Each bite was a gentle reminder of the simple pleasures of home life, of afternoons spent gathered around the table sharing stories, laughter, and freshly baked treats. These cookies were more than food, they were a reflection of mid-century American values, practicality, warmth, and hospitality. They reminded families that small, thoughtful acts, like baking cookies from scratch, could create lasting memories and foster connections that extended beyond the kitchen. Today, recreating oatmeal refrigerator cookies allows us to reconnect with a tradition of thoughtful home baking. The chewy texture, the sweet aroma, and the familiar flavors transport us back to a time when every cookie was a labor of love. Which part do you enjoy most, the rustic oats or the soft, buttery bite? In mid-century America, desserts were as much about texture and color as they were about flavor. Strawberry Raspberry Fool was a celebration of both, combining sweet, ripe berries with a light, airy cream that danced on the palate. This dessert was a favorite in households that cherished elegance without the need for elaborate preparation, offering a refined treat that could be enjoyed after any meal. The berries were mashed gently, releasing their natural juices while retaining small pieces of fruit for texture. Whipped cream was folded in, creating a delicate swirl that balanced sweetness and tartness. Housewives in the 1940s and 1950s valued this dish for its simplicity, yet it remained impressive when served to guests. Its vibrant red hue and soft, creamy consistency made it visually appealing, a dessert that invited anticipation before the first bite. Strawberry Raspberry Fool was versatile. It could be prepared in individual glasses for intimate dinners or in larger bowls for family gatherings. The natural flavors of the berries shone through, lightly sweetened to enhance but not overpower their essence. This dessert reflected mid-century ingenuity, transforming simple ingredients into a dish that felt special, celebratory, and comforting all at once. Serving the fool was an experience in itself. The gentle aroma of fresh berries mingled with the richness of cream, and each spoonful offered a contrast of flavors and textures, the slight tartness of the fruit and the smooth, airy cream. Families would gather around, savoring each bite while enjoying conversation and warmth that extended beyond the table. Today, recreating Strawberry Raspberry Fool allows us to taste a moment in American culinary history, when desserts were simple, fresh, and thoughtful. Which element would you savor first, the bright berries or the creamy whipped layer? In mid-century America, treats that combined texture and sweetness were especially cherished. Nutty marshmallow bars exemplified this perfectly, blending crisp nuts with soft, pillowy marshmallows in a way that delighted both children and adults. This dessert was more than a snack, it was a symbol of creativity in home baking, a way for families to enjoy a simple yet indulgent treat together. The bars began with a foundation of butter and sugar, melted to form a rich, golden base. Marshmallows were added, gently folding into the mixture to create soft pockets of sweetness. Chopped nuts, often walnuts or pecans, were sprinkled throughout, providing a satisfying crunch that contrasted beautifully with the tender marshmallow. In the 1940s and 1950s, home cooks took pride in creating treats like these, carefully pressing the mixture into a pan and allowing it to set before slicing into neat squares. Nutty marshmallow bars were versatile. They were served at tea time, packed into lunch boxes, or presented at holiday gatherings. The combination of flavors and textures made each bite a small celebration, a reminder that desserts could be playful, satisfying, and memorable all at once. The aroma of toasted nuts and melted marshmallow filled kitchens, drawing family members to the table with eager anticipation. This recipe reflects the ingenuity of mid-century cooks, who transformed simple ingredients into layered, enjoyable treats. It showcased resourcefulness and attention to detail, turning a modest pantry into a source of joy. Recreating nutty marshmallow bars today is an opportunity to taste nostalgia, to connect with an era when desserts were crafted with care and imagination. Which part would you savor first, the tender marshmallow or the crunchy nuts? Comment below and share your thoughts, because our journey continues with the next forgotten recipe, a unique barbecue-inspired creation that once delighted American families. In mid-century American kitchens, pizza was not always a shared, oversized meal. Individual barbecue chicken pizzas transformed the familiar Italian favorite into a personal, flavorful experience. This dish captured the spirit of creativity and convenience, offering home cooks a way to serve something special while honoring individual tastes. The base was a tender, golden crust, carefully rolled to accommodate a single serving. Smoky barbecue sauce replaced traditional tomato sauce, adding a rich, tangy flavor that complemented the succulent pieces of cooked chicken. In the 1940s and 1950s, home cooks embraced this variation, balancing innovation with practicality, ensuring each pizza was flavorful, visually appealing, and perfectly portioned. Toppings were simple yet deliberate. Slices of chicken, lightly seasoned, were scattered evenly, sometimes accompanied by onions, peppers, or a hint of cheese. Each pizza was baked until the crust was crisp and the toppings melded together, creating a harmonious blend of smoky, savory, and slightly sweet flavors. Families delighted in customizing their own personal pizzas, a practice that encouraged creativity and engagement at the table. Serving individual barbecue chicken pizzas was an event in itself. The aroma of baking dough and tangy sauce would fill the kitchen, signaling that a comforting, satisfying meal was ready to be enjoyed. Children and adults alike would gather, eagerly reaching for their personal creations, experiencing the joy of both cooking and dining together. This recipe reflects mid-century American ingenuity, transforming a familiar dish into something uniquely approachable and playful. It was a way to celebrate flavor and individuality while maintaining the warmth of shared meals. Recreating individual barbecue chicken pizzas today allows us to connect with culinary history, tasting a blend of nostalgia and innovation. Which element would you enjoy first, the smoky sauce or the tender chicken? In mid-century America, the muffuletta sandwich brought a taste of New Orleans into homes far from the French Quarter. This hearty creation combined layers of meats, cheeses, and a tangy olive salad within a round, soft loaf, offering a satisfying and flavorful experience that was both practical and indulgent. It reflected the era's love for bold flavors, creative combinations, and meals that could bring people together around the table. The sandwich began with a sturdy yet tender round loaf, sliced horizontally to cradle the fillings. Layers of salami, ham, and provolone were stacked generously, each adding a distinct texture and flavor. The signature element, the olive salad, was a finely chopped mixture of olives, pickled vegetables, and subtle seasonings, adding brightness and acidity to balance the richness of the meats and cheeses. In the 1940s and 1950s, home cooks admired the muffuletta for its portability, presentation, and the way it could satisfy a crowd with minimal fuss. Assembly required care. Each ingredient was layered thoughtfully, ensuring that every bite included a balance of flavors. The sandwich was often pressed lightly, allowing the ingredients to meld together while keeping the bread soft and flavorful. Families would gather around, slicing portions carefully, savoring the combination of salty, tangy, and savory notes that made this sandwich unique. Muffuletta sandwiches were more than a meal, they were a bridge between regional tradition and home innovation, introducing households across America to the vibrant culinary culture of New Orleans. Recreating this dish today allows us to taste history, experiencing a classic recipe that once defined lunch tables and social gatherings. Which element would you try first, the tangy olive salad, the layers of savory meat, or the soft bread? In mid-century America, cookies were more than a sweet treat, they were a reflection of care, precision, and flavor harmony. Lemon hazelnut cookies combined the bright, zesty notes of lemon with the warm, nutty richness of hazelnuts, creating a delicate balance that delighted both the eye and the palate. This dessert embodied the elegance and thoughtfulness of mid-century home baking, making it a favorite for family gatherings, tea time, and holiday celebrations. The dough was prepared carefully, incorporating finely ground hazelnuts for texture and depth. Lemon zest and a touch of juice brightened the mixture, giving each bite a refreshing lift. In the 1940s and 1950s, home cooks valued this combination because it elevated a simple cookie into a sophisticated treat, perfect for serving guests or enjoying alongside a quiet cup of tea. The cookies were shaped meticulously, often small and uniform, baked to a golden edge while remaining tender inside, a reflection of the care invested in mid-century kitchens. Presentation was important. These cookies were often arranged on decorative plates or stacked in tins, emphasizing both their beauty and practicality. The aroma of toasted hazelnuts and fresh lemon would fill the kitchen, creating anticipation and drawing family members together to savor a moment of shared delight. Each bite offered a contrast between the subtle crunch of nuts and the soft, fragrant cookie, a combination that made them memorable long after the last cookie was gone. Recreating lemon hazelnut cookies today allows us to experience a taste of American baking history, a reminder that desserts were once crafted with precision, flavor, and love. Which element would you enjoy first, the bright lemon zing or the rich, nutty texture? Comment below and share your thoughts, because our journey continues with the next forgotten recipe, a light and airy spice chiffon cake that once graced mid-century tables.